Okay, starting out with a demo of how you integrate QuickBooks with Momentum DMS. So we have Momentum sitting here. We will also bring up QuickBooks, and it is right here. So I've installed a fresh version of QuickBooks, and what I did was I created a company called Yamaha, and in Yamaha I loaded up a standard chart of accounts. We started with the Honda chart of accounts. Basically, I renamed everything Honda to just be Yamaha, and I basically have the ATV assets. You can look down here. You have other current liabilities, income, all these fun things. You'll also notice that in the customers, I have a couple of customers sitting here. As we talked about in a previous video, the only records that will be transferred over are the ones that are marked with a type, a DMS type. In other words, this is a financing record. If it's not any of these, it will not be moved over to the DMS. Same holds true with vendor. I got a couple of vendors in here, pretty straightforward. And then each vendor, like a franchise tax board, is a DMS taxes and fee. Okay, so now we've got a base QuickBooks setup. What we then do is we've launched the QuickBooks connector. We've talked about this before, but basically this is the interface that connects between QuickBooks and the Momentum DMS system. Set a password, user ID, basically your company file, and pretty much start it. Go into accounting, QuickBooks posting. Now I've run this before, so most of the work's already done. I'm going to show you how you can change some things in it. So this is a quick synchronization, and what will happen is it'll go out and read QuickBooks, and then it'll read the DMS, and it'll state that in the customers, I have not synced in a while, and I have a new GE Money Bank in the DMS that doesn't have a corresponding QuickBooks record. And I have another one over here that's basically a QuickBooks customer record that doesn't have a corresponding DMS record. So what I want to do here is basically say HSBC is really Yamaha GE, and you'll notice they are both now linked together. So what this means is in the DMS system, Yamaha GE will be linked to in the QuickBooks system HSBC. Same thing holds true with vendors. I can link these together or just copy them. I'm just going to copy my disposal fee over. In my GL records, I've added a couple of new GL records. I added this disposal fee, and there's nothing new in inventory. So if I submit, it reloads the data, synchronize, 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 and boom, we are now complete. So now that we have a synchronized system, we can go into the administration dealership setup. Now, this is where things get a little confusing, so you have to follow along. Our system is set up so you can have a number of different levels of accounting. And at the highest level, the default level, is the dealership record. At the dealership record, if you have not made any sub changes, meaning you've defined a manufacturer as being differently accounted for, or a model type being accounted for differently, or a parts category being accounted for differently, this is where things will look to have accounting. So what I've already done is set up a couple things. First of all, I set the doc fee to say it's going to be in my GL doc fee, and I can move it to something like prepaid, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but for demo purpose, I'll just set a documentation fee. I clicked on major units, and here is where the defaults are going to work. So in other words, when I receive a new Yamaha, I want it to post accounts payable to GE Commercial Distributing. Now, I will show you how you can customize this to a much deeper level in a minute, but at the highest level, if no other customization was done, this is where posting will go to. So basically, like my new default cost of goods. So for Yamaha, I'm going to take my cost of goods, and everything was on-road cost of goods. So I set that one there. Pretty straightforward. You can kind of look through all the basic stuff. So we have new, then we have our used, and then we have the information such as freight, setup, holdback, GL. Pretty straightforward things to set up. Again, this is the default system. So if I save this and start processing transactions such as buying Yamahas or selling a Yamaha, the posting for accounts payable and general ledger entries will go to these accounts. Same holds true with parts. I have a restocking fee, default AP for accounts payable on parts, the default asset for parts, income, cost of goods, and special order deposits. This probably doesn't make a lot of sense to always leave it at default unless you have a very simple P&L. If you have a more complex P&L where you actually want to start saying my vendor is this and my payables for vendor A is this, but vendor B is that, you would go in and change it in the vendor. I'll show you that in a second. And the same thing holds true with service. One last thing, there are things that kind of fall outside of major units, parts, and service. That's in the account mapping. And these are things that go over a broader spectrum of accounting. So what these are is like DMV fees. There's various places where this fee can be applied. So we actually put it here. Some of this actually may get moved back into the major unit one as we kind of adjust these screens. But this is where you can go ahead and say it's a franchise tax for our DMV fees, GL, so on and so forth. Straightforward screens. Okay, so let's update these. Now, what I like to do is show you next a couple of other features. So say if you want to get more detailed about your Yamaha major units and you want to post things differently for Yamaha because maybe in a future date you're going to pick up Honda or another account. What you would do is first go to manufacturer, click on the manufacturer, and click here. Now what's going to happen is this is going to grab the default information from the default page and put it in this manufacturer, because as I said, default information is the first level we look at, and then we look to see if there's any changes in each manufacturer or model. So I can go up here, my default GL account for accounting is going to be assets. Where do I want to put it? Again, everything's going on new. AR account, cost of goods, holdback. Salesperson's incentives, manufacturer other income, what is that, 8? Go 8. And you say OK. So now I've kind of changed where Yamaha goes a little bit from the default, but it's still about the same. Now what most people want to do is actually go in and set the models. Now we do accounting a little different than the other systems. A lot of other systems basically do accounting based off of body type. We allow you to modify it by model type to give a finer level of granularity. So in other systems, you can basically say body type equals ATV. So I will then create a GL entry for cost of goods, income, and assets for ATVs. And all my ATV body types will be posted there. We allow you now to go ahead and break it down much more detail. You can summarize it all to one place, or you can put it down to a much more detailed level. So what you're seeing here is for this body type, for this manufacturer, and again I can select different manufacturers if I had more installed, this will be my freight and setup, the cost and how much we're going to charge, but here is where I actually want the inventory account to be. So I'm going to put this to ATV, income, Yamaha ATV income account, cost of goods, ATV cost of goods, freight account. Now I have one freight account for everything, so we're just putting it all together. And we can also do used. Now this may not be applicable to many businesses, but if you had a lot of used units and you wanted to see your sales and how much the income was broken down by body types, so you're not maybe focused on new sales but also focusing on used sales, you can break it down by manufacturer and by model type. So we can say OK to this one, and we can go into kids sports and basically do the same thing. ATV, 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 freight, and so on. Pretty simple. So now everything's mapped out. Once I've gone through all my mapping and understand where I want parts to go, I have to turn accounting on. And while we haven't gone through the rest of service, how you set up service and parts, I just wanted to quickly show you how you can see how transactions may flow. So what you do is go into dealership, go into accounting, and click on account setup complete. Once I hit update, it will actually start creating transactions that can be updated into QuickBooks. I hope this was helpful. Thank you very much.